All righty. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to the election edition of Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 6th day of November 2018. Well, I always view 6 as building toward more harmony between spirit and form, so I view 6 as a higher self number. So hopefully, if you're still going to vote today, if you haven't already, hopefully you're letting higher self inform that process. You know, today is an 11 month, so it's an 11 is a master number, and that's the master number for illumination. 2018 also reduces to 11, so we're saturated in illumination today as we let higher self inform our process. We're going to get right to this today before I lose my voice. I put up I talked yesterday about doing a comfrey poultice on my husband's knee. His knee is doing very, very well. We did it 2 days in a row, and he's able to walk with no pain. And we're going to do another one today, though, just a extra support. I did a little one on my elbow. I still have some damage from the rheumatoid arthritis, even though I'm in clinical remission now. Thank you, cannabis. I wrote about that in my first book, Confessions of a Back Porch Herbalist, about what I did to heal and go into remission. You know, they couldn't do anything for me. I stayed severe for 13 years, so I had to do something. And so in 2010, I became a cannabis patient. And during the last week of that year, I started medicating with everything I made. And within 2.5 months, I was in remission. So cannabis works, folks. You know, we have an endocannabinoid system inside our bodies just waiting to, with cannabinoid receptors waiting to receive, you know, that type of interaction from substances, either from food or because, you know, cannabis isn't the only thing that contains cannabinoids. It's just that you can't really get enough black pepper in you to do the kind of healing that you need to do. And if we had never gotten out of balance to begin with, because that's what happens when your endocannabinoid system functions properly, your body stays in balance. And so illness is less likely to take hold. At least that's my understanding of it. And it sure seems to have borne out that way for me. So I think that if you live in a cannabis state where it's legal, either medicinally or recreationally, research it and figure out a way to incorporate cannabis into your life. You know, the book I wrote is available. I think it's like $2.99 or something on Kindle. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. I wrote it just to share with people how this can work for somebody and how it worked for me. Everybody has to figure it out for themselves. But when you're chronically ill, I think the best way to begin the healing process is to saturate. So, you know, that means you're going to be smoking, ingesting, you know, the whole thing, cannabis. And you're just going to saturate your body. And when that happens, at least for me, it reversed the situation. But I still have some damage from it, you know. And my elbow, one of my elbows is a real problem. And so I put a comfrey poultice on my elbow yesterday, and I butchered a sock of my husband's, and I used it to secure the poultice on my elbow. That I cut half of it off, and I used the top ribbed part on my elbow to keep it on there. And it's going to take time for my elbow to heal, but just in that one time, that 1 hour that I left it on, my elbow felt so much better yesterday. I still can't straighten it all the way out, so I don't know if that'll ever happen, but maybe. You know, comfrey is known as knit bone, and so if you have a broken bone, it's good to use for that as a poultice and as a tea, a supportive tea, to help, you know, clean all that up and heal the broken bones. But it sure has worked well for us in our house. So Anyway, I highly recommend it. And I wrote that up on the blog, so it's over there at imsteppingaside.com. And I just basically took pictures and did my and talked about my method for making the poultice and how I did it. And there you go. So enjoy. Let's count 13 and see what we have for today. I'm not going to ask the question of who's going to win today. You know, that's right now, I think we all just need to be focused on our own process there if we haven't voted to make those decisions the best way we can. So, well, we have the King of Wands, so we'll be pulling another card. So, Wands is the fire element. Now, we have an authority figure here. We have a king who's sitting on his throne. He's looking, you know, toward the past, basically. Directionality is interesting in tarot. You know, if you're looking the way he is, that's to the past. If he was looking the other direction, to be to the future. So, you know, whether or not that's the president today, I don't know. But let's draw another card. I always do when I draw a court card. But if this is representing the president of our country, then he's someone who is not informed by facts, by truth, by history, by the rule of law. You know, uh, the laws are written down. He just has to look or believe the people that are telling him what the law is, or believe, you know, people when they tell him, well, if you undo this, this will happen. I don't know. He has this worldview and view of everything that is just basically whatever he thinks. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, it's just whatever he thinks. And he said the other day, which I found so fascinating, you know, it basically told everyone everything they needed to know. Well, I try to tell the truth. You know, I try to tell the truth all the time. Folks, he ain't trying to tell the truth. You know, he pulls everything out of you know where, and that's where it comes from. So, you know, if he happens to be right, which I've never heard him to be right, but I mean, if he happened to be, well, it'd be a fluke, wouldn't it? So, be just one of those things. But anyway, whenever I pull a court card, I always pull another one because court cards are weird. You know, I mean, they can inform certainly. I mean, this could be talking about. I mean, the most obvious, you know, example is the president. But if we're looking at the direction of this, you know, he's not somebody that looks at reality to inform him. He just doesn't. And so maybe this is saying, hey, you need to take a look at what is, you know. It's not that you don't want to make changes to make things better, but you don't want to undo things that need to be there. And that's what he's doing. So, you know, this could be suggesting to the king that, you know, you need to let, you know, the what is inform you. I don't know how else to put it, but let's count. Since we don't have anything else for him to interact with here in the reading, I'm going to pull another card like I always do when I pull a court card, because it can mean the individual, you know, a male authority figure, or it can mean the qualities thereof, you know. And wands is a dynamic thing, but, you know, it can mean authority, but it can mean an exertion of will. But the King of Wands, you know, isn't always benevolent. You know, the King of Wands can be all caught up in himself. And since he's not looking directly at us, he's not looking us in the eye, he's looking away, isn't he? Yeah. He's crafting his brand, basically, figuring out what he's going to say. So let's look at another card and see if that can give us a little better picture of what the King's doing today. It's just cool that I have another one. So we have the Knight of Wands. Okay, so I'm going to pull a third card here, guys. Again, knights are passionate, We have wands, that's the fire element, that's our will. He's willful. He can get things done, but he can also get in the way of things. So I'm going to shuffle just one more time, a couple times here, and then I'm going to pull, I'll count 13 again. Because now we're looking at a family, aren't we? A king and his son. Or a king and and someone who's trying to, protect him or, do something for him. He's also aimed toward the past. So cleaning up something that they did, maybe? I don't know. Well, here we have the Four of Cups. Now, this is a card that the four is about rest and respite and structure and Mother Earth energy, Gaia energy. But when we see this, you can see that a hand is coming out from a cloud. So we have some unknown stuff here. Handing off to this person a chalice, a golden chalice. There's three more on the ground. He's kind of, he might be looking at those on the ground, but he might just be lost in thought. Emotions are not working well for him today, and he can't really see what he has. So if we use that to sort of inform here this king that we have, you've got a lot of will working. So when I see the president being willful, then he's lying. Okay, he's just lying. And I don't know how many we're up to, over 5,000 now since he took office, or is that just this year? I don't know. But the lies are continual because he doesn't operate from facts. He doesn't operate from an understanding of his job. And so he just has to talk off the cuff. He just riffs. And so then if you add to that the Knight of Wands, it could be that he's being informed by somebody that is willful of their own right. A knight, let me go to the grimoire here. A knight is going to be someone who's a little more youthful. They're the prince in other decks, but they're a catalyst for change. Okay, now we can look at an uninformed president. We could look at that as a catalyst for change, couldn't we? That we take a risk here. The Knight of Wands is a bit of a risk taker. If you go then to the King of Wands, he can be cruel, he can be bigoted, he can be transcendent, he could, see, that's the thing. A person with that much will to pull everything out of his where, that's a creative individual, okay? They could create in a positive way a creation that's informed and goes from the place of benevolence and trying to do the best for everybody. But instead, it's I'm going to tell you that I'm doing the best for you when I'm really doing nothing of the kind. I'm only taking care of myself, folks. And so that's what you have here with this king. He can't even look us in the eye. You see, he's only looking back at his own thing. All right, his own stuff. He's not looking toward the future. He's not looking us in the eye. You've got this guy who's either going to support him in this endeavor, or he's suggesting to us, hey guys, wake up, take a risk, because you can't really see. And this guy here, the king, he certainly can't see what he has in front of him. Okay, which is the country, which are people, which are the effects of his or the emotional effect he's had on all of us. And he just sits there pouting, like a little child who doesn't get his way, who doesn't get to go and do what he wants to do, or he doesn't, get the keys to the candy store. He doesn't get to have what he wants. Well, it seems to me that You know, the king certainly does have everything he wants, doesn't he? It's the rest of us that are sitting here going, oh my gosh, what's happening? So the Knight of Wands is saying, well, let's match some will with will, and let's take a risk today, and let's do something maybe we might not normally do, you know, and vote for peace, vote for unity, vote for integrity, vote for truth, and begin to see that what we really have is something that we can build on. But let's look at the rune. I'll set my cup down. I'm doing my honey and lemon, hot lemon and honey cleanse every morning. I sure like it. I'm using the honey from our hives. This is the first time that we've really taken any. And since they're dying out every year, I don't really see any reason. We save some, you know, for the next package we'll buy in the spring to install, but because I don't like to feed them the, Jerry calls it bee crack. That's my husband. He calls it bee crack. It's that sugar solution you make. And I mean, it's not normal. It's not healthy. I mean, you can do it. Everyone does. It's basically feeding them some sugar solution to get them going in the springtime. But by the time we get our bees, you know, the trees are all flowering, and so they really don't need it. And I'd rather give them honey. It's better if you give them honey than that sugar solution. So in any event, this is the first time we've taken it though, and it's really nice. Well, here we have Righto, and it is the fifth rune of the Elder Futhark, and so it means change. It's a water element, or rather, being the fifth rune, it's not a water element. Being the fifth rune, it indicates change. It might be water though. It could be invoked will, but I don't think so. It might be water. Let me see if it's a water element rune. No, it's air. Some don't subscribe, don't ascribe anything to it, but it has to have some element. But basically, we're talking about the soul journey when we're talking about Rado. Rado is motion, but it's integrated motion with others. So you could think of it in terms of rider and horse, but how we integrate with other people moving forward. So taking that risk and understanding what we have in life can help us in that regard. But it's about progress versus the goal necessarily. We can have a stated goal, but we have to have the flexibility to make adjustments if maybe we're not going to really get there or we need to modify that goal. So really, the goal is just what happens at the end. It's the culmination of all of our progress. So the real issue that we have to pay attention to is how we move through life, how we progress toward, you know, something, a final outcome, you know, have it be based on justice and right order. So basically, it's about the inner journey that we take and then how we manifest that outwardly. So if we are someone who is all caught up in the self, also known as service to self, then what you have is someone who is not going to look you in the eye. Come over here. They're not going to look you in the eye. They're going to be concerned with their own, you know, ego and their own outcome. They don't have the ability to integrate with others. They don't have the ability to see what came before and what needs to be there still. They don't have that ability. This guy here explains some of it because he can't even look and see what he has. He's just going to sit there in a pout, you know, and be emotionally unable to reach people, you know. So you could say then that he lacks empathy toward others. But this journey that we take, it may seem like we're here all alone, but we're not. You know, the Creator is all that is, in my view. And so everything here is a manifestation of the Creator in form. So all we are just cells in the body of the Creator, basically. We're all necessary. We all matter. We're all part of the entire whole. And so we have to go forward in a way that's integrated, in a way that's loving and balanced, and in a way that respects the right order of things. If you take away, I mean, just to use the environment as an example, just one example here. If you take away protections for the environment that are environmentally based, look, the reason that we have them is because big business can't figure out that they need to be good stewards of the land. All right, if and the environment. If they could do that, then odds are we wouldn't need all the regulations that we have. But whereas they may seem onerous and burdensome to these companies, the fact is they have to protect the rest of us. They can't let their bottom line and their income determine whether or not we live or die. Okay. And because the people that work for them are in the same boat as the rest of us. It's like they think it only applies to them. Well, it doesn't. Business affects everybody. And when you're going to, and so does government, as we know, and when they're going to take the protections away from us that prevent businesses from harming us, well, that's a problem. They're short-sighted. They're not looking at the bigger picture. Same with healthcare. You look at health insurance in this country. Now, the Affordable Care Act may not have been perfect, but it was a place to begin. All right. You can argue about whether or not there needs to be a mandate, but if people don't buy in, then the prices can't be cheap. All right. It's just kind of how that works. It's simple math. Well, we get caught up in well, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, then maybe people need to have an out if they don't want to do that. But at the same time, I don't know, we have to buy car insurance. We have to buy home insurance. We have to do a lot of things we don't want to do. But we do it as part of this greater this foundation we want to build that can then elevate the world, hopefully, right? And so maybe we should think less about, oh, I don't want to be told what to do, and think a little more about what it can do for the world if we did participate willingly in this. To throw the baby out with the bathwater means that we're not going to have pre-existing conditions covered. So therefore, if you have a sick child who has a life-threatening illness, well, you know what's going to happen. And you've been through it before. If you have a chronic illness, you know what's going to happen because you've been through it before. We know what will happen if healthcare is taken away or disturbed in any way that harms people. We also know what will happen if Social Security and Medicare are messed with. We know what will happen. Most seniors do not have 401ks to retire on. My husband and I, we don't. And so what happens is if we don't have our Social Security or our Medicare to Medicare just in case, because I'm an herbalist and I prefer not to do that, but just in case, right? If we don't have that, we've paid into it, then what's going on here? You can't just simply take that away from people and leave them with nothing. So today, in this year of illumination, in this month of illumination, activating higher self energies, when we go to the polls, if you still need to do that, if you haven't done it ahead of time, or if you haven't voted by mail like we get to do here in Oregon, please take your ballot in today. Go to the polling place if that's what you need to do. Let higher self inform your process. Look at the greater picture. Look at what we're being asked to accept currently and see if that's really what you want to have happen going forward. We can make the necessary change that we need to make. We can let higher self inform that whole process. And I guarantee you, I promise you, if you do that, tomorrow will be a better day for all of us. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Hopefully you'll come back tomorrow. We'll chat again. Thanks so much for coming by today. Click subscribe if you like, and blessed be.